morning, and thank you all for taking the time to stop by so we can share some information with you. This particular workshop is just for Social Security, disability, and work incentives. And Social Security disability is the benefit that's based on the Social Security tax that you pay into the system. This is not SSI work incentives. We do have a 3 o'clock workshop today that will be for the SSI incentives. So just to let you know, the information that we are the information that we provide you today is valid today. Policy can change today. This evening, information can change, the rules can change. So in order to keep updated with our information, just visit our website, ssa.gov, and any updates will be posted right away there. My name is Angela Love. I'm the North Florida Public Affairs Specialist, and this is Dorothy Bailey here today also. She's with the Plan for Achieving Self-Support Cadre out of Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm located here in Orlando. So we're gonna go through this information together.
What are work incentives? Employment support provisions that assist beneficiaries in moving from benefit dependency to independence, designed to help beneficiaries enter or re-enter or stay in the workforce. So what it's saying is that the work incentives assist individuals for it pertaining to, most of the time, their goal or something that they're trying to reach. Understanding the basics. We're going to be going over the disability programs, how we define disability, and substantial gainful activity, which is SGA. Disability programs. Title II is SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, and also with SSDI, Medicare comes 2 years after their entitlement to disability. And then we have Title 16, which is SSI, Supplemental Security Income, and with SSI, you automatically get Medicaid in most states. Disability defined. To meet our definition of disability up under Social Security is that you must be unable to engage in substantial gainful activity, SGA, because of a medically determined physical or mental impairment. And that impairment must be expected to last for at least a year or more, or expected to result in death. Substantial gainful activity, SGA. SGA is a term used to describe a level of work activity and earnings. So with the SGA, if your work earnings are at, for 2023, if they're averaging $1,470 a month, then you're considered it as being substantial gainful activity. And blind individuals, the SGA amount is $2,460. And SSI only uses SGA to measure work done when a person actually, their initial claim for SSI benefits. SSDI uses SGA throughout the life of your claim, meaning that SGA is always going to be for us with SSDI. So if you have SSDI and you decide you're going to go to work, then you're going to be always up under for us this program pertaining to the substantial gainful activity. SSDI and or SSI employment supports. So we have like 6 or 7 different employment support working on a job and the employer is either assisting you in some kind of way, or someone at the job, or even vocational rehab is assisting you with your work, meaning that you're not doing the actual work that you're supposed to be doing, or someone is assisting and helping you do that job, then that can be considered as a special condition. Unsuccessful work attempt, UWA. An unsuccessful work attempt is employment or self-employment, which you started to work but you stopped, or you reduce below SGA after a short period, like within 6 months, because either your disability for as got worse, or removal of special conditions, meaning those conditions that I went over before, that employer took those conditions away. So that could result in you having an unsuccessful work attempt. And with having an unsuccessful work attempt, meaning that that could either your benefits maybe went into suspense, or they stopped, and they could be reinstated because you had unsuccessful work attempt.
Could it be something like, for instance, if, like a position that she was doing changed, and now, like, for instance, they had given her, she got, vocational help to be able to get the job, and the job she had then now has changed, so now she's getting a lot less work, because they said that since that position is no longer really available, and there's stuff that she can't do in the new position, so that's why they reduced her hours. So would that count as a special condition? Cause in the position she had, she didn't have to be cashier, and she didn't have to be like forklift. But now the position changed, where they combined it, so then she's supposed to be doing those things that she can't do. And because of that, they're giving her very few hours.
She's still working now? Okay, yeah, because it could be considered as an unsuccessful work attempt, but you would need to talk to someone at the office and explain to them everything that's going on, and then they'll, make a determination. Impairment related work expense, IRW is what we call it. We deduct the cost of certain impairment related items, meaning that if you're working and you have for certain services or items that can be deducted away from your total amount of work earnings, then Social Security will deduct those deductions. An example, a beneficiary is earning $1,470 a month gross. His monthly copay for his medications is $75. So what we'll do, we'll take the $75 away from the $1,470, and that leaves $1,395, meaning this accountable income when determining SGA. So the maximum amount for 23 is $1,470, but if you can get those deductions, that means that you're under SGA, and that will not affect for as your benefit.
Since you have to pay for Medicare on SSDI, do you deduct that too?
No, it's not considered as being a work expense.
Excuse me, is there anything that's not considered an expense that would, for example, if I can't drive and I needed to take public transportation and they have it for a reduced rate, does that come off the SG? Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Impairment related work expense, transportation costs.
Thanks.
The cost of structural or operational modifications to the vehicle that is needed to travel to work. The cost of driver assistance or taxi cabs if public transportation is not available or not accessible. Attended care service performed in the work setting, service performed to help prepare for work. So all of that can be considered as being a hurry. Service animal, expenses paid in owning a guide dog or other services animal that enables beneficiary to overcome functional limitations. Medical devices. Deductible devices include wheelchairs, dialysis equipment, pacemakers, respirators, traction equipment, and braces. Prosthesis, artificial hip, artificial replacement of an residential modification. Employed outside of home, modification to exterior to permit access to the street or transportation. Self-employed at home, modification inside to create workspace to accommodate impairment. Prescription drugs, regularly prescription medical treatment or therapy that is necessary to control a disabling condition. This includes co-payments and insurance deductibles. Other items and service, assistant technology that people with disabilities use for employment-related purposes such as software application, computer support, special tools. All of this can be considered as being, for as impairment-related work expense.
Would a monthly bus pass in the public, count? I mean, that's public transportation, but if that's the only way that you get to work, is through public transportation, and you buy a monthly pass, can you deduct the cost of the monthly pass?
If the medical condition, requires them to use that transportation, we can use that as well.
Okay, so a regular bus pass, maybe not, but if you can't take the regular bus and you have to use, like here, for access
Correct.
links as an example, then the cost of that, which is actually a good deal more, that would be counted. Okay.
Correct, or even if you have a neighbor driving you to work and you're visually impaired and you can't drive, we can use that, we can refund you what you paid the neighbor.
Okay.
Form SSA 821 work activity report. If you're working, then Social Security is most likely going to have you to complete, this form, for it's pertaining to your work incentives when, SSA is making SGAs, for its decision. So if you're working and earning a certain amount of money, then you could, receive this form to complete and submit back in. Plan to achieve self-support, which is PASS. PASS is an SSI provision that helps individuals with disabilities return to work. If you receive SSDI or could qualify for SSI after setting aside a certain amount of income or resources, so you can pursue a work goal, then you could benefit from a PASS. So PASS is plan to achieve self-support, meaning that, if you're receiving SSDI, what we do, we can allow you for us to take your SSDI, all of it except for $20, you can use that for us pertaining to pursue your work goal. And then if you can qualify, we make you qualify for SSI, so you'll receive $914 a month on SSI if you put all of your, SSDI into the PASS except for that $20. So you'll have $914 plus 20, which would be $934, that will be used for your living. And then whatever your Social Security amount is, you would use that amount for to actual fund your work goal. And, that program starts at age 16, so for individuals, students, or if someone is trying to, go back to school, or if they're trying to get a job for us and they need other assistance to help them for us with their job.
Is there an age limit?
16 and up, and,
Okay, no.
up to full retirement age, I think
Gotcha.
like 6 months or so before full retirement.
Yeah.
Plan to achieve self-support PASS. What kind of expenses can a PASS help pay? School or training expenses, which would be tuition fees, books, supplies, uniforms, special clothing, safety equipment, attendant care, child care expenses, meaning that, if an individual is on PASS and they have a child, then it can be also added in for, that expense to be paid for that child care expense. Transportation to work, employment service such as a job coach. So if an individual needs a job coach and handle 8 states, most of the southern states, for as pertaining to the pass.
Yeah, I have a question. So my son just recently graduated high school, he's 18, and, the goal is for him to go to college. So he gets SSI, right? So I like that, but it's not so clear how he would benefit from PASS.
Okay. Well,
But, so in order for PASS to pay for, say, tuition, et cetera, right? What do we need to do to access that?
okay,
You know what I mean? 'Cause
yeah,
you're
okay,
saying,
now we're going into the SSI part of it. If an individual is only receiving SSI,
right,
then the only way that you can have a pass is that you must have some other type of income or resource in order for you to have a pass. So if you get SSI only, SSI is for you to use for your living. You can't use it for as to support any type of work goal. So if an individual has a resource, which would be $2,000 or more, then they can use that resource for as to fund their pass, where it would, if you have $2,000 or more, it would suspend your benefits regularly. But
Right.
if you're under the pass, your benefits would not be suspended. You can take that resource and use it to fund your work goal.
okay, so this would be, as you say, an extension of the income to the SSI income.
Right. Now, if you're receiving SSI only, if an individual goes to work or if they have a resource, then automatically, regularly, your check is gonna go down, okay? But if you're under the pass, then what we do, we code your record for it so that your benefits will not go down. So say for instance, like for here, we figure Billy's countable income using the earned income formula. So if an individual has $665, then automatically we take 20 off top, which gives you 645, and then we take 65 away, that gives you 580. We take that 580 and we divide that into half, which would be $290 in countable income. So what we would do, we code the record with the, $290, which would be for the pass. That other income that the individual has, they can use it for whatever they wanna use it for, whether it's to, pay for additional living expenses or pay for their work goal. But as long as you're in the pass, then you're gonna keep your full SSI at the 914, and we allow you to use that other income to fund your work goal.
For how long?
It's according to what your work goal is, as to, most of the time, if it's going to college, it's just according to what you submit in on your application. If you're going for to get associate degree, then most of the time, individuals that have a disability, we know that they're not gonna be able to do it in 2 years. It might take 3 years, or it might take 4 years, but, and we have a system where we can look up as to how long, individuals should have for as a pass. But when you complete your application, if you think it's going to be, 3 years, if you think it's gonna be 4 years, then you need to put that information on the application. And if you're going to school, usually, with PASS, it requires you to be in full-time attendance. But if an individual has a disability that will not allow them to do full-time attendance, then they would need documentation from a doctor or psychiatrist or whoever stating that this individual cannot do full-time attendance, and we take that into consideration, and we can extend their pass out.
Could I ask you a question? Unfortunately, it was about the previous slide, but it didn't say you could, transportation for work. If somebody had a disability, but they were able to drive and they had car expenses, is that, any, what
We-
part of car expenses could be
Okay.
applied to that?
When you apply for a pass, when you apply for the pass, maybe that individual had just bought a car within like, let's say within then we can add in the car note, or we can add in the car insurance. But if you had a vehicle for a long time, then we can't add in the actual, car payment, but we would be able to add in the car insurance, and we could maybe even add in, for a certain amount for gas. So it's different, parts that you can add in.
And so if we needed to get into the past, what we do, we go to Social Security office and get it done, or is it through
No.
you?
Yes, through us, and we're in Birmingham, and it's a form, SSA 545, you should have, the green sheets, I think, should be maybe in your folder.
Oh.
If not, then, okay.
And then,
Yeah.
so you tell us if we're eligible for pass.
You complete the application, and it's an online application, go up on the socialsecurity.gov, and it's SSA 545. You complete that application and submit it in, and then one of the past specialists will, we review the application, if we need additional information, we'll contact you, letting you know we need additional information. And we make a determination as to whether you have a good for a work goal, and as to whether we can approve or deny the application.
And so this is separate and apart from SSI?
Right, the pass, it's hard, it's a work incentive for us through Social Security, but yes.
When you get to the next page, I was just trying to follow the math, so we can just get back to that. So Billy still makes $665 a month. You took out 20 and 65, those are probably administrative things.
Right.
Got it, no worries.
Right.
So that's $85, so that hasn't changed. And then you're generous in the sense that you divide it by 2, so you're only decreasing his Social Security income, from 914 to 290. So it goes down to 264. So the 290 has to go off somewhere to, like you said, accountable in income. Then you set aside the income, that's 290, and is increasing by 290 a month for the past time frame.
Right, with
So-
the pass,
Go
your
ahead.
SSI would not decrease.
Oh.
You stay at the,
Thank you.
stay at the
That's what-
914.
right, okay.
But we allow you to use that 290 to fund what you
It's an
need.
additional credit.
There you go.
All right,
Mhm.
that's what I'm trying to
SSI
understand.
would
So
not go
you're
down.
You're not losing.
Right, that's the
okay?
only time, for it pertaining to you would need to be in the past to
So-
keep the SSI at the full amount.
So Billy's still making $665, 290's been allocated by Social Security Administration.
Right.
For him to apply to the
Right,
past
his
effort.
work goal,
as you-
whatever he
as you
decides he
described
wanna do.
earlier. Okay.
That would be correct.
Yeah, if he doesn't spend that monthly, like tuition is paid, at the beginning of the semester, and then you don't have as much, expenses.
No, when you complete your application, the application goes into full detail, asking you as to what you're gonna do this month, or how long it's gonna take. You have to put all of that information on there. So if he doesn't, have to pay tuition, then you can't put tuition on the application.
Right, no, but I'm saying you have a lump sum at the beginning where you pay a tuition and buy books, and then you don't have as much, expenses
Right.
during the semester, so are you allowed to save up that 290?
Right,
Yeah.
you're allowed to put that 290 to the side until you accumulate however much you accumulate. And then sometimes with individuals, they might submit their application in, and it might be 3-4 months or whatever before, the application is processed, but they have a protected filing date, so we will go back to that date, and sometimes they'll receive a lump sum
Yeah.
payment. And so we will also tell you that you need to take this lump sum payment and pay it on tuition, or pay it on whatever you need to pay it on in order, for it to be, for the pass.
Okay, so, but go back a little bit though, but you're saying one of the, criteria for this is that they must have an additional income to SSI to be
If you-
eligible for
Right,
this pass.
if you're receiving SSI only, then you must have either a resource or some other type of income coming in. And most people, if they're getting SSI only, then they go get a part-time job or whatever it is, that they can use those funds to fund their pass.
Right.
You can't have a pass, with SSI if you don't have any other income or resource.
Good,
Okay.
that's clear, yeah.
Okay.
How often do you audit what people are spending it on. and-
every 6 months.
And you said that it takes 3 or 4 months to process the application for pass.
It
Is-
could or could not, sometimes it's shorter, it's just pertaining to what's going on, or that individual hadn't got us in everything that we need. So it goes through a process, so, sometimes it could only take 2 weeks, it's just according to what's going on.
Is the person during, let's use Billy, is Billy getting a reduced amount until the pass gets approved? Or is he getting like, cause he's working, is he getting like overpayment notices, or is he getting?
Yeah, but that's all part of the plan, they know, because we will put information there to let the local office know that this individual
Okay.
has applied for a pass.
Right.
And
Okay.
that we're in the process, and a lot of people go through the office, so it's like, if you go in through the field office, then they have to do, certain amount of processing pertaining, for us to pass. And to
Okay.
let us know that this individual is applying for a pass.
So once somebody applies, they should just calm, chill, it's gonna come through.
Right.
You may get several notices, don't
Right,
freak out.
yeah, disregard, because
Okay.
we're working on it, and if you have a good, pass, that's why we tell everybody that when you do your application, really work on that application, cause that application determines whether you're approved or whether you're denied.
Okay,
So, once you submit it in.
cool, thank you.
Okay.
Is a resource, is mom and dad considered a resource?
They could, if that amount is over $2,000, then that's when it's considered to be a resource. So whatever you're doing, or if you're gonna, loan this individual the 2,000 or whatever, if that's a resource, then yeah, we can use that money amount for them to use to fund the pass.
Just so I can understand this a little bit better, my daughter's been on SSI since the age of 18, because prior to that, she couldn't qualify because of parent income.
Right.
So now for vocational rehab, they're paying her tuition at school, so she has her SSI that she uses to fund her housing. This summer, she wanted to work at a camp for 8 weeks, and I was concerned because I didn't want her to have any money coming in, because I was concerned it would screw up her vocational rehab and her SSI. So.
Definitely not vocational rehab, and vocational rehab also assists individuals in preparing, some do their pass application. So if voc rehab is paying expense, then pass can't pay it, but anything additional from what voc rehab is not paying, then you can submit that in on a pass.
That's interesting. Oh,
Very good.
that's interesting.
Well, I had a child that worked with vocational rehab, and his social security was not affected at all, because he was with vocational rehab.
What was he receiving, SSI or SSDI?
SSI.
He was with voc rehab and his money amount didn't,
Didn't change.
I don't know what happened with that unless
Maybe
they
it was
just
on
They
didn't
their-
put
said
it
it was
in.
something to do with, because he was working for vocational rehab.
He may have been under section 301.
Okay.
Exemption.
There's
There's a lot, there's a lot of,
I know.
there's a lot of things you have to read
Yeah.
on that,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
Section
great,
301.
it's just a
It's
ticket to
coming.
Okay,
Alright.
yeah, she's gonna do
Coming.
that,
That's what we're-
301, it's in, should be in the book. Okay, now we have Ticket to Work, TTW. TTW is a innovative program for persons with disability who wanna work and participate in planning their employment. It increases your available choices when obtaining employment services, vocational rehab services, and other support services you may need to get or keep a job. It is free and voluntary services, and you can use the ticket if you choose, but there's no penalty, for not using it. So, certain individuals are granted, for as a ticket to work. Everybody doesn't receive a ticket to work, usually you will get a letter, letting you know whether you have a ticket to work, or if you don't, you can always call into your local social security office, and they can let you know whether you have a ticket to work.
So if they do have a ticket to work and they are working, and so that income can count towards the pass that you, oh.
But that is not.
It
cost to
just
do
as an
that.
extra support, like if they are working and then as it turns out, they have some problems at work, they can have a coach come in and so.
She already had, that, this is what I'm new to all of this social security, she
So-
already had a job at the time she was placed on Ticket to Work. She was working with Voc Rehab, Voc Rehab
Okay.
said they did not put her on, social security just automatically.
Right, it is.
Yes, that's who
it's a
pays for
program
it.
that's automatically
Right, it's who
done.
pays for it and where the money
Yeah,
comes from.
pertaining to your disability will determine whether you can have a ticket to work or not.
If you need it, if you
Yeah,
need
but
it,
you don't have to take it.
because it's
That's
not
what
being paid
telling
for
you.
elsewhere.
Right.
Does it work against you in any way, cause I guess what I got, do you have to go off of Medicare once you are on Ticket to Work? Okay, Ticket to Work, all that is a pathway into using the employment network in your area. This is an organization that has a contract with Social Security to help get you back into the workforce. You don't have to use it, you can use it. People that don't have a Ticket to Work, they can also call the employment network and get assistance into going back to work. Basically, all they do is they guide you, help you plan your return to work. You may already be working and you may get a ticket, you don't have to use it. No one has to use it. Just because you have a ticket, it doesn't affect you in any way. It's just saying, hey, I have this ticket, do you want someone to help you go back to work? That's all it is.
And if you're already working, it's past tense, right?
Yeah, well,
But if
that's
you-
what.
but
She's
No,
already-
it's not
Go
ahead.
past
Well,
tense,
that's-
because you may
Make it
still
clear.
want to get some services from that employer.
I thought it was just, job placement help. You're saying there's other things that it
Right,
provides.
you may wanna work to do another type of work,
Thank you.
you know, so
So
that's
job
someone that's
training-
just gonna help you
Okay.
Yeah.
down that
Okay.
path, but it
So it
doesn't
is another
hurt
benefit.
you, it's not good, well, it's
It
good
doesn't
because
matter.
you have the services, it's not a bad thing.
Right.
You don't have to use it, if you
Right.
don't use it, you don't get penalized for not using it.
Right.
I
So
thought if you
either or.
go on Ticket to Work, the idea of is eventually you move away from your, disability payments.
All of these work incentives are here for that
That's what
reason.
they're designed
That's
for.
what they're trying to help you do,
Yeah,
they're
right.
giving you support so that you can go back to work and we
Yes.
don't just cold stop your social security and
it's
your
a transition.
SSI. So Ticket to Work is no different from the past. The past is allowing you to do this extra work, use this work money to go to school and not have your SSI reduced, like she was saying. So it's the same with the Ticket to Work. Ticket to Work has nothing to do with your money from Social Security or SSI.
Yeah.
All it is help me go back to work.
Right.
You know, help me plan my return
But
to
if
work.
you do
Yeah,
go
but
back
with
to
that-
work, it may reduce.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, but-
Another thing, let me mention this about Ticket to Work. If you come up for a medical review and you're actively using your ticket, we're not gonna do the medical review at that time. We'll delay it. So that's one benefit, is if you're trying to go back to work, you have an active ticket, we're not gonna do the medical review.
You mean for re-eligibility after 18? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not talking about re-eligibility after 18 because they're not gonna be on the Ticket to Work until after 18. So once they turn 18, they're gonna do an adult determination.
Right.
Once that determination is done, let's just say they're scheduled for a medical review in 7 years. This 7 years comes, we're doing your medical review, but hey, we notice you have an active ticket because you're working with the employment network. We're gonna say, well, we're not gonna review you right now. Keep continuing trying to go back to work, because the idea is you may be able to be successful in returning to work, and then we won't have to do the medical review.
Yeah, but because, right, so there's no catch-22, right? So, but that, it sounds great, the PASS and the TTW, but, for persons getting the SSI, I know my son's been getting it, he's 18 now. So, if he goes to work, right, for this program, does it count, does the income count towards his now, a monthly SSI?
Pay them out, yes, if you don't have a pass, then it's gonna count.
Yes, only if you have the pass that it doesn't count, because then you're using that money to improve yourself. But if you're on Ticket to Work, or if you're working, that always
Yeah,
gets
it's gonna
counted
always
towards
count.
your SSI.
you're under a pass, how much are these kids allowed to work?
There you
And
go.
where do you put that money? Cause if you put it in a savings, do they look at you and say, oh, you're above your 2,000?
Able to-
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, able, but
Able to-
say
Oh,
for
yeah, we
instance,
just
if your
opened
work
one
earnings
since
are,
we're here.
$1,000 a month, okay, we
Yeah.
take that
We just
85 off
opened that
top,
up, yeah.
we just wanna leave
Right.
$915. We take the 915,
You know, it's like-
divide it into half, so that's gonna be four, what?
Yeah.
Six or something or whatever. That money, you must put it into the pass if you wanna receive the full amount of the SSI.
Right.
Some people don't do the full amount, it's up to you. If you don't do the full amount, then your SSI will go down a small amount. So it's left up to you, is that, okay, I wanna put in half or whatever that amount is into the pass. But you must have some type of items or services that, in trying to reach a work goal, in order for you to use that money towards your pass.
So how do you divide this money? Like, do you have it direct deposited into the pass?
You must have two different accounts.
Okay.
If you have a pass, you must have account set up for the pass income, and then you also have an account set up for the SSI for your living expenses.
Okay, so you have
So
to
yeah,
separate account?
yeah, whenever you have a pass, we tell you automatically, you need to open up another account if you don't have two accounts.
Okay, and then whenever you withdraw from that pass, you have to have proof of what you're using it for.
No, we do a 6 months review,
Uh-huh.
and within that 6 months, whatever you told us on your application, is that, okay, I wanna spend $200 on tuition, then, and that 6 months review, then you must submit in us documents either from the bank account or receipt showing that you used this money for it, for what you said you were gonna use it for. And it's done, usually within 6 months, sometimes we don't get 6 months, or it could be 8 months, but you must keep up with your receipts or do it all out the bank account, and the only thing you would have to submit in would be the bank statement showing that you used that money for it to pay tuition, you use it to pay car insurance, you use it to pay car note, whatever it is that we approve for you to use that money for, then, you must provide those documents, within the 6 month time.
And if they need to save up for a car, like she needs a special car in order to be able to drive, can you do that, but then in 6 months, you don't have the money for the car, can you continue to do something
Right,
like that?
usually with cars, if the individual is in school, then we usually have to see that they're keeping a C average. If they're keeping a C average, then that, pass specialist will tell you, okay, yes, you can save whatever amount of money you tell us that you need for it to get the car, so it will be a just continuous process. So if you save, every month you're saving $200, so within that 6 months, we need to see that you saved $1,200. So, and then if it's gonna go longer than the 6 months, if it's a year, then you need to have $2,400 saved. So it's just according to what you tell us that you want to save, or that you wanna do, or it's pertaining to, that actual cost.
Go back, we had an example with Billy with SSI, but I wanted to see the SSDI. I saw it there. Is that no? Yeah, that's the one.
Maria, okay.
I wanna read it. We skipped that one, and I wanna hear SSDI. And the, okay, I didn't look, thank you.
So you want me to go back over this?
I
or-
can read it,
Okay.
I just wanted to focus on the SSDI.
Right, SSDI is different, that means that check is 9, 20 comes off, which will leave 880. The $20 is used for your living expense, so you get 914, then you'll have 934 that you can use for living expenses, and that other amount for the 880 that you put it into your pass.
And
What,
does- and
for
does it-
whatever expenses or services that you need to pay.
And does it matter if they're getting SSDI based on their work credits or their parents' work credits?
Doesn't matter.
Wait, this says SSDI, oh my
You have
God,
these
then it
things in writing?
mentions SSI.
Yeah, it's in the book.
Right, because if
Yeah.
you're getting
The
SSDI
red phone.
only, then we're gonna make you eligible for SSI. So you're gonna be receiving 2 checks instead of 1 check.
Gotcha.
And the 914 plus the $20 we're allowing you to take
Just
from your
during
social
that.
security, you use that for your living expenses. And in order for you to have a pass on SSDI, you
to the expedited reinstatement, again, this is for SSDI. If an individual's benefits are terminated for work, not for medical improvement, for work only, they can possibly have us reinstated without filing a new application. If you start working and you're earning too much money and we stop your benefits, then you have to file a new application if you don't come back to us within 5 years or 60 months. If you come back to us within 5 years and say, I'm still disabled, I'm no longer performing over the work limit or substantial gainful activity, we can start your payments back up. We do have to do a new medical review to determine that you're still disabled, but we'll pay you for provisional payments. We'll pay you for 6 months, whatever your benefit amount was when it stopped, plus whatever cost of living has come in between that time. And we'll do a new medical determination. Now, if it takes longer than 6 months to do that determination, then the checks will stop until we're finished with the determination. If you have a different medical condition, then we're gonna require you to file a new application. If you come to us more than 5 years after your benefits stop, then you'll also have to file a new application. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. For SSDI, there's Section 301 payment continuation. People that are in vocational rehabilitation services or on IEPs, they are due medical reviews. If you're still in that program and we determine you're no longer medically disabled, we're gonna keep paying you anyway until that program stops. So I don't know if that's what he may have been in or not, but if you're on an IEP from age 18 to 21 and we think you're no longer disabled based on the adult rules, we'll still pay you until that program ends. Now, the employment supports for SSDI only is a trial work period, extended period of eligibility, we continue your Medicare, and also we talk about people who receive Medicare that have disabilities and are working. We're gonna break those down for you. So with Social Security disability, everyone that's received Social Security disability for at least 12 months is entitled to what's called a trial work period. A trial work period will last you 9 months. They do not have to be consecutive, but you do have to make $1,050 for it to count as a trial work month. So if you make $900, you're not gonna use up one of the months. So let's say you make $1,100 one month, then you make $900 another month, $1,200 the following month, you're only using 2 of your trial work months. They do not have to be consecutive, but they have to be used in what we call a rolling 6-month period. So if you're working this year a few months, and then you don't work again for 2 years, eventually those earlier months will roll out of that period. So within 60 months, you have to make at least $1,050 in 9 months. Once this trial work period is over, we start what's called, let's see. Okay, also with that trial work period, you can work and earn as much money as you want. It won't affect your benefits. So you can make $5,000 a month and still get your Social Security disability benefits for that 9 months. Now also in that 9 months, we can't use any of those other work incentives that she talked about. We won't use your unsuccessful work attempt. We won't use your impairment related work expenses, none of that during that 9-month trial work period. We look at your dollar for dollar there. After the trial work period is over, you start what's called an extended period of eligibility. That will last for 36 months or 3 years. During this period, whatever the substantial gainful activity limit or work limit is, this year is $14.70 a month gross, before any deductions, we can pay you for those months. One thing that's important about the extended period of eligibility, we can stop and start your payments according to what your wages are. So if you're over $14.70, we can withhold that check, we'll suspend it. And then if you go under, you can call us back and say, I made less this month, or report your wages and we see that you've made less, and we'll pay you for that month. During the extended period of eligibility, we're stopping and starting your checks. The first month after this 3-year period is over, if you go over the limit, your benefits are going to terminate. We can't start them back up. That's when you come to us and let us know that, hey, I know I'm out of my extended period of eligibility, but I'm no longer working because of my medical condition. Then we'll go back and look at that expedited reinstatement, or if you need to file a new application. But it's important that you report your wages to us timely if you're in your extended period of eligibility, because it's very easy to get overpaid. Now, with the extended period of eligibility, after you finish the trial work period, the 9 months, we essentially give you 3 grace months. The cessation month is the first month after your 9-month trial work period, and then we pay you 2 more grace months. So even though you've ended your trial work period, say you make $2,000 in the next 3 months after that, we're gonna pay you for those months. And then the 4th month, that's the month where it's gonna actually affect your benefits. Now, the benefit termination month, again, depends on when your cessation month happens. Let's say that you finish your trial work period, you made $1,200 a month for 9 months. Then you started your extended period of eligibility. You're still under the $1,470. You're still making $1,200 a month. Work for 5 years, and then your check goes up to $2,000 a month. That's when those grace months are gonna start with you. We're not gonna make you use those grace months right after your trial work period because you weren't over the substantial gainful activity limit. We're not gonna give you the grace months until the end. So you may go to work, be outside of your extended period of eligibility. This may be the first time that you go over SGA or substantial gainful activity or work limit, and that period of time will give you those grace months. Then your benefit's gonna terminate. If you already got your grace period earlier, your benefit's gonna terminate the first month outside of the extended period of eligibility that you go over the work limit. Okay, so Medicare may continue even if your benefits terminate. Medicare continues up to 93 months after you finish the trial work period. So if you're working, let's say 10 years after you finish your trial work period, you stayed under the work limit, and then you stop, if your 93-month period is over at that point, your Medicare will stop. Let's say you work 3 years after the trial work period. You still have some months left in that 93-month period. So it all depends on when your trial work period ends as to how long your Medicare is actually gonna continue. And you also see here, you have to have already been on Medicare, and you had to be terminated because of work. Now, if you're terminated because of medical reasons, you're no longer disabled, that's different. Your Medicare is gonna stop when your benefits stop. Now, people that have disabilities, they do have the option to pay into Medicare. So if your benefit stops and you're under age 65 and you're no longer eligible for SSDI, we do allow you, because you have a medical condition, to actually purchase Part A at $506 a month, and Part B this year is $164.90 a month. But remember, your benefits had to have stopped because of work. Again, if it's a medical,
I was gonna let you finish. So if somebody is on a Medicare Advantage plan, does that affect like the slide before you said for 93 months they get A, B, and D if they're enrolled? If they're in a Medicare Advantage plan, does that also apply to the Medicare Advantage plan, or do they have to go back to traditional Medicare?
It applies because you have to have Part B to get in that Medicare Advantage plan. So
Okay.
it will affect you. So if your Medicare stops, you're not gonna be, eligible for Medicare Advantage.
But in the thing before, it said you're eligible for 93 months. You can
Mhm.
stay on Advantage during
You
that
can stay
93
on
months.
everything,
Okay.
everything, A, B, C, and D. You can stay on all of them as long as you're eligible for, the Medicare still, because of the extension, you can still stay on the other parts as well.
Okay.
Excuse me, how do you get on the SSDI? You have to work for 10 quarters or something, right? Isn't
With
that
Social Security disability, you have to have recent work. So you have to have 5 substantial years of work out of the last 10, right before you become disabled. So it has to be recent work. You can work somewhere and actually have 40 quarters, which is enough for retirement benefits. But if that work wasn't recent, right before you became disabled, then you might be eligible for retirement, but not disability.
Well, because everybody always says you should get your 10, for people with disabilities that already have disabilities, that they have to work for 10 quarters.
They
And
have to
then
work
they
for
can qualify.
20 quarters.
Oh, it's 20 quarters?
It's 20 quarters out of 40 quarters, which is 5 years out of 10 years. You can get 20 quarters in 5 years, cause you get 4 a year. So it's 20 quarters that you need, and they can be spread out in those 10 years. They don't have to be 5 years immediately before you become disabled, it has to be within the 10-year period.
Or if it's a child, they can go when their parents go on.
Right, for children, if their parents file for retirement, disability, or pass away, they can file on their parents' record. If they're minor children, 18 or 19, still full-time students in high school, or became disabled prior to age 22.
Is there
And
a
these
way
can
to-
be stepchildren.
Is there a way to check and see how many credits you have?
Yes, we're gonna talk about the website, yes. Okay, so, one thing that's really important, when you're receiving Social Security disability, we don't know you're working until IRS reports it to us. It might be 1, 2, 3 years down the road before we get this information from your W-2. So you are responsible for letting us know that you are working. You need to let us know if your pay goes up or down, hours change, if your position changes, if you have impairment-related work expenses, the subsidies that she mentioned, the special considerations. We don't know any of that unless you tell us. So you need to let us know. Also, she mentioned the work activity report, the SSA 821, and the work activity report for self-employment, which is SSA 820. It's now available on our website, so you can actually do it electronically. That's the best form for SSDI to let us know you're working. So go ahead and fill that out online. It'll come through to our system, and then we'll start a work review on it. Also, in order to report your work online, we need your employee identification number, employer identification number. Now, you can report work by faxing it in, mailing it in, you can call us on the phone, and again, you can do it on our website. So the most efficient and the fastest way is to actually use our website. So on our website, this is now available for both SSDI and SSI workers. You want to go to the website and set up a My SSA account or My Social Security account. With this account, you can report your wages. If you're a representative payee, you can report the wages for the people whose benefits that you manage. Once you log on, there is an item at the bottom of the screen that says report my wages. You're gonna click on that item. If you've already let us know who your employer's identification number, that employer should come up on the list. You can click on that employer and add your wages. It's important for Social Security disability recipients to do this so we can do the review. But even the SSI recipients, it's very important for them to do it timely, because those checks are based on what your wages are. Social Security doesn't work the same. So if you're doing it online, we get it immediately, so we can pay you the correct amount. If you don't do it timely, we can't do that. SSI has to report their wages within the first 6 days of the month. Social Security can do it at any time. SSI also has an option to call the telephone wage reporting line, and they can actually report their wages by phone. Social Security disability cannot do that. And then again, you can mail it, fax it, drop it in our drop box at the offices. Did you have a question?
I do have one quick question, and I don't know. So my son has a rare lung disease, and so his medicine is ridiculous. If he works too much, then he loses Medicaid, which is what's covering his medication. So is there some other way, like, it's kind of frustrating, because you feel like you're caught in this trap of, oh, cause one month there were 3 months, you had 3 paid checks in a month, and then they said, oh, you went over, so now you're gonna lose your, Medicaid. But he can't afford to do that, so, it almost seems, is there any other program that helps you pay for your health insurance?
Well,
So you don't
once-
have to stay under all the time, you know?
Once he's worked enough and he becomes eligible for Social Security disability and not SSI only, he would, file an application. We would determine if he meets the medical criteria at that time. And 2 years after he's received the Social Security, he'll now be on Medicare.
For life, or that you lose?
As long as he's getting benefits, or if his benefit stops at 93 month, or if they say he's no longer medically disabled.
I guess I just feel frustrated, because I feel like it really caps how much you can earn,
Right.
because he can't,
Right.
there's no way he can afford
Right.
insurance, or we can afford insurance.
And he's paying into the Social Security system, so eventually he could be insured for benefits. Every time we do the redetermination reviews with you, we're checking his record to see if he has enough Social Security quarters. Because once he hits that mark with enough quarters to file for Social Security, we're gonna make him file for it, because SSI is a needs-based program. You have to file for anything else you're eligible for in order to keep that benefit. So if he becomes insured, then he will have another one, but other than that, I don't know of any other medical.
So all you have to, so you just have to keep on, make sure you stay under always, but that just seems like it defeats the purpose. Like, you're trying to get them working, and they can't, you know, you can't work because you can't afford your own health insurance.
Well, he may be eligible for Medicaid outside of SSI. The Medicaid he has is under SSI. SSI Medicaid is not the same, as the, cancer survivor, Medicaid. They have different Medicaid programs in every state. So if his SSI stops, you want to go to the state and say, I wanna apply for Medicaid now, he's no longer eligible for SSI. So there's different Medicaid programs. SSI is just one of them.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I have a question about your timeline. So, my son is on SSI, and it's been a year because he's applying for SSDI because of the backlog. And then if he gets approved, well, he'll get approved, but then you take off 5 months. What's the 5-month delay? And then, if we have to wait 2 years for Medicaid, when does the 2-year begin? The time we applied, or the end of the 5 months? Is that-
Okay, so with Social Security disability, there is a 5-month waiting period for everyone. So when you file, and if they say that you became disabled December 15th, we can't pay you for 5 months. So your waiting period, and it has to be 5 full months, we don't start counting in the middle of December. So January through May is gonna be your 5 months. So your earliest month of entitlement is gonna be June. And that's where we start counting the 2 years for the Medicare, for from
the
your
June.
entitlement month, not your date that your disability began.
Okay, and, but if you applied a year before you got assigned, did the months that you were waiting?
We can do retroactive up to 1 year,
Oh.
but you can apply, it all comes down to the month that they determined you became disabled.
Okay.
So you may have applied a year ago, but the medical evidence may not have supported that disability until more recently. So we're gonna go to that date, let's just say you applied a year ago, the determination said you became disabled 3 months ago, we're gonna start counting 5 months with 3 months ago, not a year ago.
Okay, and then
Okay.
2 years from
2 years
eligibility.
from after that 5 months is up, is where we count for the Medicare.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so this book, the red book, should be in all the packages. We have some extra ones back on the table. This book contains all of that information that we've been talking about today. It's very important that you always keep this book. They have it online. You don't necessarily need the paper book, so you can get that book online. Now, again, we've already talked about this, the work limits, 1470 for people that are blind, 2460, trial work period is 1050, and the SSI benefit amount is 914, and couples are 1371. And
When do we get 914?
that's for SSI.
Right, we don't even get that.
Well, it depends on your living arrangement.
Yeah.
So if you're not paying your fair share in the household, it won't be that amount.
Yeah, it's kinda weird, like, if we worded it.
So if you have 4 people in the household, and the expenses are, let's say, $2,000, that individual has to be able to pay $500, pay their fair share in order to get the maximum amount. There may be 2 people in the house, the expenses may be $2,000. 914 isn't enough to pay $1,000 for that individual, so we're gonna say, hey, somebody is kicking in for that individual, so now it's in-kind support, we count it as income. So that may be why. And again, we've talked about the Medicare. Okay, and I just wanna emphasize, if you haven't done it already, open up a My SSA account. If just for identity fraud purposes, you wanna set up a My SSA account on our website and lock it down with the password. If someone has your information, they can set up an account, they can, apply for benefits. If you receive benefits, they can reroute your benefits to another bank account. So most of our services can be completed online, so we suggest that you also, if you haven't filed for retirement benefits, you wanna check your earnings record while you still have the W-2 forms. Where you apply for it later, you may not have proof if we need to correct the record. You can also do benefit estimates to plan for retirement, but, you can also request the benefit verification letter. If your child is no longer receiving benefits and you need proof of that can come off of line also. Okay, and that's what we just talked about. Now to, set up an online account, we do have new identity verification processes. When you go on, you're gonna be directed to login.gov or ID.me. ID.me is gonna allow you to, take a picture of your driver's license and verify you. Login.gov is gonna ask you those credit bureau questions. And login.gov is connected to other government websites, so once you get verified in there, you'll be able to use it for other websites as well.
If you ever asked for a replacement card, would you have had to have set up a
No. No, and you can also do that online now in most states. If you're not making a change, you can go online and request a replacement social security card. Alright. And if you have any trouble setting it up, you may need to go in our office with your ID so that we can unlock it and get you set up. But if you do that, make sure you use our self-help computers that are in the office to go all the way through the process once they give you an activation code. And do that before you